Do you remember Mac Miller? The prodigy who turned pain into poetry, mixing rap, jazz, soul, and raw honesty in a way no his age had ever done. But behind the warm smile and the mellow sound was a young man quietly drowning in addiction, heartbreak, and a mind he could never fully escape. And even more shocking, the truth about his final months is far darker than the world ever realized. How could someone who healed millions with his music be unable to heal himself? Rare footage and untold truths will be uncovered in this video. Stay until the end to understand why Mac Miller remains one of the most loved and most mourned artists of his generation. Before the world knew the name Mac Miller, before the albums, before the heartbreak, before the spiral that would eventually consume him, Malcolm James McCormick was just a curious, wide-eyed boy growing up in Pittsburgh. A boy who loved art, loved people, and felt emotions far deeper than anyone realized. Mac came from a supportive, middle-class Jewish family. His mother, Karen, was a photographer. His father, Mark, was an architect. They raised him with love, freedom, and creativity, a stark contrast to many dark biography stories. But even in a loving home, a sensitive soul can struggle quietly. From a young age, Mac was different. Not broken, not troubled, just unusually intuitive. He read people easily. He felt their sadness. He absorbed their energy. This emotional openness would later make him a phenomenal artist and a vulnerable human being. As a kid, Mac was energetic and charismatic, always trying to make others laugh. Teachers adored him. Friends gravitated toward him. But there was also a softer, quieter side. A boy who spent hours alone writing, drawing, imagining entire worlds inside his room. Music was his first escape. At 6 years old, he learned piano, then drums, then guitar, then bass. He didn't study music. He absorbed it. By 12, he was producing beats on a cheap computer in his basement. By 14, he was recording songs. By 15, he announced with full confidence, "I'm going to be a rapper." Most teenagers would have been mocked. Mac wasn't. Everyone who knew him sensed a spark, a mixture of charm, talent, and quiet fire that made him impossible to ignore. But what people didn't see was the pressure he placed on himself. Even as a kid, Mac struggled with emotional overwhelm, anxiety he didn't yet have words for, fear of disappointing people, a constant craving to be accepted. He hid these feelings well, behind jokes, behind confidence, behind a smile that made others feel comfortable, even when he wasn't. In many ways, Mac was a people pleaser long before he became famous. He wanted to make others happy. He wanted to be the one who lifted the room. He wanted to be the energy everyone relied on. But people like that often forget to save energy for themselves. As he grew older, Mac's relationship with music became deeper, almost spiritual. While his friends were partying, Mac was writing lyrics about loneliness, love, fear, the meaning of life. His journals were filled with questions no teenager should be thinking about. He once wrote, "I feel everything too much." It wasn't a complaint. It was a truth. This intense sensitivity made him wise beyond his years, but it also made him emotionally fragile. The kind of fragility that doesn't break easily, but cracks quietly over time. At school, he was a funny kid, the talented kid, the kid who was always good. But even then, Mac was experimenting, not just with music, but with substances. Weed at 14, lean soon after, a curiosity that masked something deeper, a need to soften the world, to dull the edges, to quiet a mind that never stopped spinning. These early habits didn't become dangerous until fame poured gasoline on them, but the seeds were planted young. Still, Mac wasn't defined by darkness. Not yet. He was driven, passionate, magnetic. He spent every free moment creating, dreaming, building the foundation of a career that would explode far faster than he ever anticipated. He wasn't chasing stardom. He was chasing connection, through music, through energy, through emotion. But sensitive souls, even the happiest ones, walk through life with a storm quietly forming inside them. For Mac Miller, that storm wouldn't fully break until years later, but the winds were already beginning to gather. By the time Mac Miller turned 16, he wasn't just a talented kid making music in his basement. He was a phenomenon waiting to happen. His early mixtapes, released under the name Easy Mac, spread across Pittsburgh like wildfire. Local kids played his songs in school hallways, on buses, at parties. He wasn't polished, but he was magnetic. His flow was confident, his lyrics surprisingly emotional, and his energy infectious. What set Mac apart from other teenage rappers wasn't aggression or swagger. It was joy. He radiated it. He embodied it. He became the face of a movement that felt hopeful, youthful, alive. A contrast to the darkness he would later face. At just 17, Mac signed with Rostrum Records, the same label that had elevated Wiz Khalifa. It was a dream come true. For Mac, who had spent years imagining life as an artist, everything was suddenly happening faster than he could process. He went from recording in a small basement studio to performing in front of hundreds, then thousands. Mixtape after mixtape, the jukebox, a high life, KIDS, fueled his rise like gasoline on a growing flame. KIDS especially became a cultural bomb. Songs like Kool Aid and Frozen Pizza, Nike's on My Feet, and Senior Skip Day exploded online. YouTube, still in its early viral era, became a launching pad for Mac's cheerful, golden aesthetic. He was the kid everyone wanted to hang out with. The big smile, the carefree vibe, the jokes, the charm. Mac made success look effortless. But behind the laughter and youthfulness was a growing pressure, one he didn't yet know how to cope with. White medium star, the first taste of fame. When Mac started touring nationally, he was barely 18. Cities he had never visited screamed his lyrics word for word. People waited outside venues just to talk to him. Fans cried when they met him. It was overwhelming in both the best and worst ways. Mac loved people, but he wasn't prepared for the weight of constant attention. He stayed up after shows signing autographs, shaking hands, giving advice to teenagers going through their own struggles. He wanted to be the big brother, the friend, the energy everyone remembered. He poured everything he had into others, leaving very little for himself. Touring quickly became a blur. Hotels, buses, backstage rooms, loud crowds, long nights. For someone sensitive and introspective like Mac, the noise could be suffocating, but the world didn't know that. To them, he was a wave of positivity, the new golden boy of hip-hop, a teenager who rapped about school, sneakers, life, simple joys, a refreshing alternative to the darker rap landscape of the time. Mac embraced that role. He embraced the light, but light that bright can cast long shadows. White medium star The Breakthrough, Blue Slide Park. At 19, Mac released Blue Slide Park. It became the first independently distributed album since 1995 to debut at #1 on the Billboard charts. It was a historic moment, a milestone not just for Mac, but for independent music itself. But success comes with a price. Critics tore the album apart. They called it immature, shallow, not serious rap. They dismissed him as a YouTube star, not a real artist. Mac had never dealt with such harsh judgment before. The criticism cut deep, deeper than he admitted publicly. For someone as sensitive as him, words weren't just words. They were wounds. Internally, he spiraled. Was he good enough? Was his music valuable? Was he a joke to the industry? Did fans like him for the real him, or just the happy persona? These doubts lingered long after the album's success faded. Publicly, Mac kept smiling. Privately, he began numbing the pain. This is where the seeds of his future struggles truly began. White medium star, the shift in his mindset. Mac didn't want to be a happy rapper. He didn't want to be a meme or a caricature of youth. He wanted depth. He wanted to evolve. He wanted to be respected. This desire pushed him toward a new musical direction. Darker, more emotional, more experimental. But it also pushed him toward unhealthy coping mechanisms. Late nights in the studio turned into late nights drinking. Trying to create turned into trying to escape. Tour exhaustion turned into substance dependence. He was too young, too overwhelmed, too emotionally open. And while the world saw an unstoppable teenage star, Mac was beginning to slip into patterns of pain that would follow him into adulthood. The rise was beautiful. The fall had already begun. As Mac Miller entered his 20s, the world saw a star blossoming. Charismatic, talented, constantly evolving. But inside, Mac was beginning to feel something entirely different. The crushing pressure growing up while the world watches every move. After Blue Slide Park, he refused to stay the happy-go-lucky kid the industry mocked. He reinvented himself. He experimented with jazz rap, psychedelic sounds, introspective lyricism. He started speaking openly about pain, confusion, loneliness, things he had once hidden behind jokes and bright beats. His music grew darker, more mature, more emotional, and so did his life. White medium star, the cost of fame. Mac's rise was meteoric. Millions of fans, sold-out tours, endless interviews, cameras everywhere. But fame amplified everything. His insecurities, his anxiety, his perfectionism, his unhealthy coping mechanisms. Mac wasn't built for the spotlight. He was an artist, not a celebrity. A sensitive soul pretending to be invincible. The pressure to constantly evolve, to be respected, to prove himself, to critics push him deeper into his own head and deeper into substances that quieted the noise. He once admitted, "It's easy to lose yourself when everybody has an opinion about who you should be." And with every album, every tour, every expectation, Mac felt that loss more intensely. White medium star, the love story that changed everything. In 2013, Mac met Ariana Grande, and the world around him shifted. Their connection was instant, soft, warm, genuine. With Ariana, Mac felt understood in a way he hadn't in years. She saw the tender, fragile, brilliant parts of him that fame often overshadowed, and he adored her, deeply, sincerely. Their collaboration on The Way became a massive hit, but their bond ran far deeper than music. They were best friends. They were safe havens. They were two artists trying to balance fame and sensitivity in an unforgiving industry. But love, especially young love, can be delicate. As Mac's internal battles grew heavier, the relationship strained. He struggled with addiction, struggled with self-worth, struggled to be the partner he wanted to be. Ariana supported him, patiently, compassionately, but she couldn't fight his demons for him. Eventually, they broke up. Publicly, it seemed simple. Privately, it shattered him. Because losing someone you love deeply is painful. But losing them because you're losing yourself is devastating. White medium star, the beginning of the spiral. During this period, Mac's reliance on substances intensified. Drugs weren't about partying. They were about numbing, about silence, about escape. He described it simply. "I was too worried about everything, and nothing could shut my brain off." The world assumed his problems came from fame, but the truth was more complicated. Mac's sensitivity, the same gift that made his music so emotional, was also his greatest vulnerability. He felt everything too deeply. Every criticism, every heartbreak, every disappointment. He didn't spiral because he wanted to. He spiraled because he didn't know how not to. White medium star, the battle behind the music. As his personal life became turbulent, Mac turned to music with even more intensity. But creation no longer came from joy. It came from pain. Albums like Watching Movies with the Sound Off revealed a darker, more introspective Mac. Fans celebrated the artistic evolution. Critics finally respected him, but the emotional toll was heavy. Mac started spending long nights alone in his home studio. Lights dimmed, candles burning, empty bottles nearby. He wrote songs soaked in vulnerability, confession, self-awareness. But with every new level of honesty, he exposed more of his inner turmoil. He was becoming a better artist, but a more wounded human. White medium star, the arrest and the public collapse. The DUI incident, crashing his car, running from the scene, getting arrested, marked a dramatic turning point. To the public, it looked like a reckless mistake. To those close to Mac, it was a cry for help. The breakup with Ariana, the pressure of fame, the struggle with addiction, all collided at once. He was overwhelmed, emotionally drained, exposed in the ugliest way. And as tabloids mocked him, fans worried for him, and Ariana was publicly blamed. Mac stayed silent. He didn't defend himself. He didn't attack back. He didn't ask for sympathy. He simply said, "I'm not hiding from life. I'm just trying to figure it out." But he was no longer figuring it out. He was falling, and the world didn't yet realize how far he would fall. As Mac Miller entered his mid-20s, the world saw him as a resilient artist, someone who turned heartbreak into art and pain into poetry. But what the world didn't see was how deeply he was drowning inside. The pressure, the criticism, the expectations, the breakup, the loneliness. Everything he once handled with a smile had now become a weight he could barely carry. Mac was no longer spiraling in silence. The spiral had become his life. White medium star The Addiction deepens. People often assume addiction is about partying or recklessness. For Mac Miller, it was about quieting a storm that never stopped. Lean, pills, alcohol. They didn't represent chaos. They represented silence. Mac described it in an interview. "I wasn't trying to get high. I was trying to get comfortable." That sentence reveals everything. His addiction wasn't about escape. It was about relief. The substances softened the anxiety, muted the noise, slowed his racing mind. But they also rewired his emotions, drained his energy, and deepened his depression. He wasn't chasing euphoria. He was chasing normalcy. And that kind of addiction is the hardest to break. White medium star, the loneliness everyone missed. Despite fame, despite friends, despite fans around the world, Mac was profoundly lonely. He was surrounded by people, but emotionally alone. He laughed with them, joked with them, partied with them. But when the night ended, he found himself back at the same place. A quiet house, a dimly lit studio, a mind that wouldn't let him rest. He once said, "When the whole world knows you, it's easy to feel like nobody really knows you." That is the loneliness of fame. The kind that doesn't scream, it whispers. Mac wasn't isolated because people abandoned him. He was isolated because he didn't want to burden anyone with the weight he carried. Sensitive people often hide their suffering the best, and Mac hit it beautifully. White medium star The breakup that changed everything. Mac never blamed Ariana. Not publicly, not privately. He loved her deeply, but he also understood why the relationship couldn't survive. His addiction, his emotional instability, his inability to control the spiral, it all played a part. Their breakup wasn't dramatic. It was heartbreaking. Mac adored her. Ariana cared for him. But love alone cannot fix someone who is breaking from the inside. And when Ariana moved on, Mac's fans turned their heartbreak outward, attacking her, blaming her, calling her responsible. Mac defended her. He said, "I don't expect a person to stay in a toxic situation just because they love me." That level of accountability, that softness, makes a story all the more tragic. He wasn't angry. He was hurting, deeply, quietly, and heartbreak amplified everything he was already battling. White medium star The albums that revealed his pain. Go, ODAM, The Divine Feminine, Swimming. Each album was a chapter of his internal struggle. In Go, ODAM, he confronted addiction. In The Divine Feminine, he explored love, vulnerability, longing. In Swimming, he confesses exhaustion and desire for healing. Fans praise the artistry. Critics finally saw him as a serious musician. But behind every track was a man fighting to keep his mind above water. Listen closely to his lyrics from this era, and you hear isolation, depression, numbness, hope mixed with despair. Someone reaching for the surface, but sinking slowly. Mac wasn't hiding his pain anymore. He was documenting it. White medium star The arrest, a crack in facade. The DUI accident shattered the illusion that Mac was okay. He crashed his car, left the scene, was arrested hours later. The media mocked him. Fans worried. Ariana was blamed. Mac stayed silent. But the truth was simple. He was overwhelmed. He later said in an interview, "I made a stupid mistake, but it wasn't about the alcohol. It was about me not knowing how to deal with life." This was the first time the world saw the facade break. White medium star The fight for control. After the DUI, Mac attempted to rebuild. He went to therapy. He focused on music. He isolated himself from toxic influences. And for a moment, he genuinely tried to get better. But people misunderstood what better looked like for someone like Mac. He wasn't trying to become sober instantly. He wasn't trying to erase the pain overnight. He was trying to cope, to manage, to stabilize. But internal battles are the hardest battles. And sensitive souls don't heal in straight lines. Some days, Mac felt hopeful. Some days, he felt empty. Some days, he felt like he was winning. Some days, he felt like he was drowning. He told a friend, "I'm tired of being inside my head all the time." That was the real enemy. Not fame, not heartbreak, not the industry. His mind, white medium star, the quiet descent. By 2018, Mac looked healthy. He smiled more. He spoke thoughtfully. He made beautiful, introspective music. He told interviewers he was doing okay. And yet, his loneliness had become its own ecosystem. He stayed up late. He wrote music alone in a dim studio. He talked less to friends. He reflected constantly. He medicated quietly. He wasn't out of control. He was exhausted. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The spiral wasn't dramatic. It wasn't chaotic. It was slow, silent, internal. The kind of spiral no one sees until it's too late. Mac Miller didn't want to die. He just wanted the pain to stop. And in the final months of his life, that pain grew louder than ever, even as his smile did too. By 2018, Mac Miller was living in a strange emotional contrast, a calm surface with a storm underneath. From the outside, this was one of the brightest periods of his career. New music, new focus, new clarity. He smiled more in interviews. He spoke softly about healing. He said he was learning to accept life. And part of that was true. But another part, the part hidden behind dim studio lights and long nights alone, was slipping slowly, quietly, painfully. White medium star, the last albums, Beauty Born from Pain. Mac poured everything he had into Swimming. It wasn't just an album. It was a confession, a mirror, a fragile attempt to understand himself. Tracks like Self-Care, Come Back to Earth, and 2009 carried a haunting honesty that made fans feel something was deeply wrong, even if Mac never said it out loud. In Come Back to Earth, he whispered, "And I was drowning, but now I'm swimming, slashed through stressful waters to relief." People celebrated the lyricism, the vulnerability, the beauty, but they overlooked the metaphor. Mac wasn't healed. He was trying to heal. There is a difference, a devastating one. Artists like him don't reveal wounds to ask for help. They reveal them to feel less alone. And Mac, for all his talent and brilliance, was still unbearably alone. White medium star, the weight of expectations. Even as his artistry reached new heights, his emotional stability remained fragile. He still struggled with insomnia, anxiety, substance dependence, emotional overload, unpredictable waves of sadness, fear of disappointing loved ones. He didn't hide these things. He spoke about them openly in interviews, gently, quietly, like someone trying not to worry the world. In one interview, he said, "You could have the whole world love you and still feel alone." Fans interpreted it as wisdom, but it was a warning. White medium star, the overdose fears. Friends noticed he was slipping in and out of cycles. Some weeks focused, present, creating music with glowing energy. Other weeks withdrawn, silent, disconnected. People close to him knew the risks, not because he was reckless, but because he was vulnerable. Emotionally fragile people don't break with explosions. They break with exhaustion. Mac wasn't trying to escape life. He was trying to cope with a mind that never rested. White medium star, the interview that revealed everything. A few weeks before his death, Mac did an interview where he smiled often, joked, laughed. But there was a moment, a quiet, brief blink and you miss it moment, where he looked down and said, "I'm okay with how my life is. I'm okay with the ups and downs. It's all part of the story." That line chilled fans later, because when someone is too used to pain, they speak about suffering like it's simply a fact of life. Mac wasn't optimistic. He was resigned. White medium star, a heart that loved but carried too much. After the breakup and all the noise surrounding it, Mac still spoke lovingly of Ariana. He never blamed her. He never resented her happiness. He wished her well, sincerely. But heartbreak doesn't disappear just because you accept it. Some wounds don't close. They just grow quieter. Mac lived with those quiet wounds every day. White medium star the night before. On September 6, 2018, Mac was in good spirits. He hung out with friends, listened to music, talked about future projects, smiled, laughed, made plans. There was no sign of crisis, no dramatic red flag, no visible darkness. People often misunderstand this. The calm before tragedy isn't tranquility. It's emotional exhaustion, a stillness that comes when a person has fought for too long. To outsiders, it looks like peace. To those who know mental health, it looks like surrender. White medium star, September 7, 2018. The day everything changed. Mac spent the morning at home. A normal morning. Nothing remarkable. Nothing alarming. He messaged a friend, worked on music, moved around the house. And then, at some point during the late morning, he overdosed. There was no suicide note, no symbolic gesture, no deliberate plan. Just a tragic, accidental overdose. The kind that happens when a vulnerable person mixes substances, try to feel a little bit better, a little bit calmer, a little bit quieter. He was 26, one of the most brilliant, sensitive voices of his generation. Gone in an instant. White medium star the moment the world stopped. The news broke like lightning. Fans froze. Friends cried. Artists rushed to pay tribute. Ariana posted her heartbreak silently. Days later, vigils appeared across Pittsburgh. The blue playground at Blue Slide Park became a sea of flowers, letters, candles, and tears. This wasn't just another celebrity death. Mac Miller represented something deeper. A gentle heart, a brilliant mind, a flawed but honest soul. A young man fighting so hard just to stay alive. His death didn't shock people because he was reckless. It shocked them because he was loved. Profoundly, genuinely, globally. And the world realized, too late, how much he had been suffering beneath the surface. White medium star, the quiet truth. Mac didn't die because he was weak. He didn't die because he didn't care. He didn't die because fame destroyed him. He died because he was human, because he felt too much, because he tried to cope with unbearable emotional weight using substances that offered temporary relief, until one day they didn't. He wanted to live. He wanted to heal. He wanted to keep making music. He just couldn't outrun the storm inside him. And on September 7th, the storm finally overtook him. When the world learned that Mac Miller had died, it didn't feel like the loss of celebrity. It felt like the loss of a friend. A gentle, brilliant, vulnerable friend who had quietly accompanied millions of people through their brightest and darkest moments. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming, not in shock alone, but in heartbreak. Mac wasn't larger than life like some stars. He wasn't untouchable. He wasn't intimidating. He was human, warm, soft-spoken, deeply loved, and that made the grief deeper. White medium star, the world mourns a quiet light. Across Pittsburgh, thousands gathered at Blue Slide Park, the place he immortalized, the symbol of his youth. Fans left handwritten letters, drawings, vinyl records, flowers, and candles. Some played his music through small Bluetooth speakers. Others sat in silence, crying softly. People didn't mourn Mac Miller because he was famous. They mourned him because he made them feel understood. Across the country, radio stations held moments of silence. Rappers who rarely showed emotion cried in interviews. Artists he collaborated with, and even those he had never met, wrote tributes filled with tenderness. Across Twitter, one message appeared over and over. Mac Miller made me feel less alone. In Los Angeles, murals appeared overnight. In New York, crowds gathered in Washington Square Park singing Self-Care and 2009. In London, DJs stopped their sets and let the room fall silent before dropping Dang or the Spins. The grief was global, and it was intimate. White medium star the industry reflects and admits its failure. Mac's death forced the music industry to confront a painful truth. Artists who smile the brightest often hurt the most. Musicians began speaking openly about emotional burnout, isolation inside fame, pressure to be perfect, substance dependence, mental health neglect, the stigma around asking for help. Mac's passing didn't just spark sadness, it sparked conversation. Important ones. Necessary ones. Rappers like J. Cole, Big Sean, Chance the Rapper, Kendrick Lamar, and Post Malone all spoke publicly about how deeply they were shaken. Some said they regretted not checking more often. Others said Mac's kindness had changed them. He was not a divisive figure. He was universally loved, and that made the loss even heavier. White medium star Ariana's grief. A love that endured. Ariana Grande posted a simple message days after his death. No anger, no defensiveness, no drama. Just heartbreak. She wrote about his sweetness, his brilliance, his humor, and the way he loved with his whole heart. Her tribute was soft, raw, and deeply human, reflecting a love that never disappeared, even when their relationship ended. For millions watching online, it was the moment the tragedy felt real. Mac Miller wasn't just an artist. He was someone's person, someone's love, someone's unforgettable story. White medium star the legacy he left behind. Mac didn't revolutionize music with shock value. He didn't dominate charts through controversy. He didn't chase attention. His legacy came from something far rarer. Honesty, warmth, vulnerability, emotional intelligence far beyond his age. He blurred genres effortlessly. Rap, soul, jazz, R&B, psychedelic, lo-fi, creating a sound that felt both timeless and intimate. But beyond the music, Mac's greatest legacy is the emotional one. He made sensitive men feel seen. He made lonely people feel understood. He made mental health a conversation. In hip-hop, he proved you could be soft in a genre obsessed with hardness. He showed the beauty of imperfection, growth, and self-reflection. His final album, Swimming, and the posthumous circles are widely considered masterpieces, not because of polish, but because of emotional truth. Mac Miller didn't just create songs. He created healing. And though he left the world at 26, his impact will echo for decades in the artists he inspired, in the fans he comforted, in the conversations he started, and in quiet spaces where people still listen to his voice late at night, feeling a little less alone. Because some artists don't fade with time. They become immortal in the hearts they helped hold together. When the world thinks of Mac Miller, it doesn't remember a scandal or a headline or the tragedy that took him too soon. It remembers the warmth, the softness, the honesty, the way he made life feel a little lighter, even when his own heart felt unbearably heavy. Mac wasn't defined by the darkness he battled. He was defined by the light he created in spite of it. He learned, far too young, that pain and beauty often come from the same place. And he spent his life turning one into the other, through late nights in dim studios, through journals filled with questions about existence, through music that sounded like a conversation with the soul. Mac left behind something rare, truth. He wasn't perfect. He didn't try to be. He lived openly, vulnerably, messily, and that vulnerability became a lifeline for millions who were afraid to show their own cracks. His story is heartbreaking, but it is also deeply human. A reminder that even the brightest spirits can feel the weight of the world. A reminder that sensitivity is not weakness, but a form of courage. A reminder that some people love so much, feel so much, carry so much, that their hearts tire long before their time. Mac Miller may be gone, but his voice still drifts through quiet rooms and long drives. His words still comfort people in silent moments. His spirit still lingers in melodies that feel like home. Some artists disappear. Mac Miller echoes.